This is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks, where we review movies. Love them or hate them, someone's got to do it. So enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm April.
And this is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks.
Anything else that gets in the mix?
So we're going to be Southerners for Halloween. So if you didn't know, if you're not from the United States or Canada, I don't know who else celebrates Halloween.
A lot of people do
Probably.
now. Yeah.
I think they were like, what is this? Let's do it. Let's do it in our country too. Because I saw like a TikTok maybe sometime last year, and they were celebrating Halloween in like the UK, and I was like, they do that?
Yeah, they do it in Mexico too.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and there's actually a train in Japan where everybody agrees upon, and they get on this like subway train, and they all dress up. So it's all a bunch of expats.
Huh, weird.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, this is technically our second week of Halloween.
Halloween month.
Halloween. And to go along with that, we are watching a witchy movie.
Witchy witch.
But because we love you guys, we're watching two witchy movies this week.
Yes, it's a comparison.
So what are we comparing?
We are comparing 1996 The Craft against 2020's The Craft Legacy. And I will say that it's not really going to be a comparison because I feel that they were both their own standalone films.
They had some similar parts.
Yeah, and they definitely, the 2020 version paid homage to the 96.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I wouldn't define it as a remake.
No.
No.
There was a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
And, so like partway through the movie, The Craft Legacy, I was looking at the IMDb page because I was like, man, this guy looks familiar. So I was looking him up.
Yeah.
Well, I saw who else was going to be in the movie and I went,
spoiler.
And my sister was like, what? And I was like, Nancy's back. And then April heard me and was like, ugh. Though, honestly, with the title called Legacy, we should have known. I didn't put two and two together.
First of all, Legacy is fourth generation, okay?
What?
Yeah, that's what a legacy is. A legacy is a fourth generation.
See, I know the term is just like the next generation. Like there's more than one generation.
It's the fourth.
Oh, well.
That's when you're a legacy because you're the fourth in line.
I just know that if you're in a sorority or fraternity and your parent was in that sorority or fraternity, you are now a legacy.
No, you have to be the fourth generation to be a legacy.
Not in fraternities and sororities.
That's how it's supposed to be. Fourth. Look it up.
Well, hey, in the comments, please let us know who's right. Anywho, but we should have known. But we didn't put two and two together.
I felt that we would have got there later when we found out she was adopted.
Yeah. Well,
somebody would have come back.
I felt like someone would be on the movie, and I kept trying to figure out like who it would be. But if you have not seen the first Craft, where have you been? So we leave Nancy in the crazy house.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would be Nancy. I was trying to think of all the other people it would be, not Nancy, because she was in the cuckoo house. She is still in the cuckoo house.
Yeah, but the thing about crazy is that she didn't actually commit a crime. So I'm sure
she killed two people.
Well, not that people know about that though, but
technically three if you count the weird stalker guy.
She was crazy. And, once she calmed down and they probably put her on some meds, she got out. But of course, she's going to have relapses. Yeah. So I feel like that's when she had the baby. She got knocked up,
It could have been an immaculate conception sort of situation.
No.
Well, okay. So.
Oh, Manu?
Yeah. Well, also, if you have seen the newest Scream movie, in that movie, Skeet Ulrich had a child. And, spoiler alert. Sorry. I should have said that first.
First of all, we're always spoils.
Yeah.
So that's
you
on
should
you.
Be used to it. So he had a kid. So I kept thinking, oh, maybe it's Skeet's kid from when they hooked up. And I was like, but that math don't math. But I was like, maybe there's some kind of way. I don't know. Maybe the mom was the kid and she just is super old looking. Whatever it may be. And I kept trying to make that happen in my head. And I was like, he's just always having babies after he dies. But clearly not. So. Okay. So for those who have seen The Craft or haven't seen The Craft, do we want to give a description of the first movie?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Okay, so in the first one, you have the new girl in town, and it turns out unknowingly to her mother happened to be a witch. Yeah. And there's these 3 odd girls in school, and they are into witchcraft. But, they've never been able to manifest anything because you need 4, north, south, west, east. Earth, fire, wind, water, right? And so then when she comes into town, she already has like this natural ability that she never really thought of as witchcraft. She just, could do little parlor tricks.
Yeah.
But they bring her into their little covenant and they start having fun. Maybe a bit too reckless fun. And they kind of have a tiff and they break up. And the new girl, I guess she would be considered the good witch, kind of goes against the other 3. And Nancy, who's our cuckoo for the movie, she goes a bit, power hungry. Yeah. And in the end, a few people die. And Nancy goes to the crazy house. The other 2 friends, they lose their power. They try to make amends with, what was the new girl's name? Sarah.
Yeah.
And
seriously?
And Sarah's like, yeah, no, you tried to kill me. I don't think we can be friends. Yeah. And the other 2 is like, she probably doesn't have any more powers anyways. And then she shows them her power and it's like, oh shit. And then the movie kind of ends with like everybody going their separate ways.
Yeah.
Tell them about 2020's legacy.
So, similar story. We have Lily. She's new to town. Her mother met a man. He has 3 sons. They move in with him and she starts at a new school. She didn't have any friends at her old school. And so these 3 girls, they like see her and they're like, oh, I think she's our 4th person. Because they see her necklace and it shows that it's the little triad.
4 symbols, yeah.
And I guess it wouldn't be a triad one.
It'd be a quadad.
And so they ask her to be with, hang out with them. And they start doing little
parlor tricks.
Yeah. But like theirs is a better bond, I feel. And they have like they're not going crazy over their powers. And then one of their newish friends dies and they we find out that somebody else is trying to take their powers and then it ends.
They all become friends again at the end, whereas the others separated. These
stayed together.
Yeah, their bond formed stronger.
It really did. So I guess we can start with the 1996 Craft.
Yes.
So the very first thing I thought when we see Sarah on the plane, I was like, oh, Bella from Twilight. I wrote that down. I didn't say a word. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say anything. And then like 10 minutes later, you're like, she's like Bella.
Well, I thought it first too, but I didn't want to say it. But then it just, her mannerism, the way she speaks, she's so Kristen Stewart, but her face isn't so pointy.
Right.
It's in some moments she even looked like Rory, you know, from Gilmore Girls.
Alexis Bledel.
Yeah, so she kind of has like a bigger forehead, and it's like her face is just slightly rounder.
So she was wearing a wig.
Okay, I thought
Yes.
that her hairline was too perfect.
Yeah, and when the movie first starts, she's has darker hair, and
It was redder, remember?
Yeah, and then she gets in the car with her dad in the very next scene, and it's red, and I was like, "What the hell?" They must have gone through a couple different wigs. Well, or one of them was like a test scene because she was filming Empire Records at the same, like right before this, and she had shaved her head.
Oh, okay.
So she didn't have any hair. So that's why they had to put a wig on her. And the whole entire time I was like, that's just exactly like Bella, because she had to wear a wig in the first one.
Her hair was too perfect.
Yeah. And it
whole
looked
thing.
like a wig.
Yeah, like I noticed her hairline was just like you can tell.
Yeah.
You know, like it was sewn in.
I always thought it looked weird.
Yeah. And she
I
pretty
didn't-
much has the same hairstyle the whole movie.
Yeah.
So
Like she changes it here and there,
well,
but
like
it's
she
pretty much.
braided it
Yeah.
in one scene, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you could I thought something was off, but like, you know, it's her hair.
And then when they moved in and it had the mom and the dad and whatever, I was like, I thought her mom was dead.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's weird. And then like a couple scenes later, she's like, oh no, my mom died when I was a baby. That was my stepmom. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I thought for some reason, I was like, I thought her mom was dead. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, maybe she dies at the end.
I did wonder, because obviously this came before Harry Potter,
Yeah.
how much influence this paid to the writer.
So I think this movie was influenced other movies. So definitely it has a Mean Girls mixed with Heathers,
Yeah.
mixed with Carrie vibe. You know, New Girl in Town, you know, the popular girls take over, but they're, in this case, they're not popular, but
Yeah.
you know, such and such. And they change the new girl a little bit, because she does change for a bit and then she goes back to her ways. Like the whole time, that's all I can think is like, oh wow, this is like New Girls meets Carrie. We find out that she's super afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
I guess she used to hallucinate, see snakes, and then she tried to kill herself, and so she just has a real
I think that was
problem
her
with
seeing the
snakes.
future.
Could be. She just didn't know.
Yeah, because remember, towards the beginning, there was this dude, this
Yeah, what
homeless
is with this
dude.
dude?
He was trying to warn her, is like, I saw you surrounded by snakes. You were going to die.
Yeah.
You know? And then, of course, he died. You know, they always kill the messenger.
Yeah. Ugh. And I kind of forgot all that happened with that guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, who the hell is this dude?
That would have been a good scene to have on caption, just to see what the hell he said.
Yeah.
Because I only caught part of it.
Yeah.
Which were those parts. But that was the most important part.
So then the next day, she has to go to school wearing regular clothes.
Because she doesn't have her uniform yet.
It's like, couldn't you just wait a couple days before you go?
What? And watch daytime TV? I do it, says the dad.
Right? Well, okay. I'm glad you brought up the TV. So in their living room, they have this cabinet. It has a TV in it. They have no chairs or couches around said TV. But if you look about 4 or 5 feet from the TV to like the right of it, they have this whole couch chair setup facing the wall.
Maybe the TV tilts and you can turn it.
But it's in a cabinet, so I don't think so. It's not like it's
Their
plasma.
focal point is not the television set. They're about bonding and reading.
It's just
and
a
talking.
weird place to have that.
For a real home, yes.
Yes.
For a set, that's just where it worked, okay?
I guess it just bothered me. I was like, I never noticed that. And then I couldn't unsee it. So it bothered me. So we go to school. We meet the Witches 3. And she goes to her locker, Nancy, and pulls out a slip knot and then just like leaves it hanging out. And she doesn't lock her locker. Someone said that.
Yeah, no, because no one's going to mess with her.
I was going to say, who's going to mess with her? They all think they're weird.
Exactly.
You know, they weren't going to do anything to her stuff.
No, like
she might bite them.
I had lockers at school that never locked. We had one communal locker that we took over that everybody put their shit in because it was the closest one.
Yeah.
We had a third, we had another locker just for coats where we would all put our coats. We had a third locker full of Cokes. That one didn't lock, you know? Yeah. So like, yeah, I get it.
So we find out that Nancy can do magic. She was turning this pencil on her table, but the reaction that Bonnie has is one of like fear, not excitement. Like her face was more like, like
I thought it was more like shock, like, oh shit. Because I think they had read something where like they were going to find their fourth.
Yeah.
And then this happens and it's like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. And she's here. It's her.
My thing is what are the odds that all four of these people are at the same high school?
It's called destiny. It's called fate.
Manifest destiny.
Yes. I'm always trying to manifest. It doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it does not. So they call them the bitches of Eastwick, which I thought was fun and clever.
Yes.
And then we meet Skeet. Good old Skeet Ulrich. Which is okay. So this movie, I'm almost positive it's filmed about a year before Scream. He looks so different in both of these movies. Because in this movie, I've always thought he looked tall. Like, I guess it's because he's real thin and he's wearing really baggy stuff. And maybe all those girls are just very short. And there's no, what's his face to make him, Matthew Lillard, to make him look tiny.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, he looks really tall. And then you get him in Scream and he's like a foot tall, shorter than Matthew Lillard. So it's just like, what is happening? But his hair's all different.
Yeah.
So preppy. I was just it, like, I know it's the same person, but I never put two and two together. It took me a long time to realize it was the same person. Because I know I'd seen The Craft, probably before Scream came out, but I didn't know that he was in it. I had no idea.
Well, you know me, I only watch movies once. Well, so I hadn't seen this movie in ages.
And just literally today, when we were like right before we played the movie, I was like, oh shit, Nev Campbell's in this and Skeet Ulrich. What?
Like, I know I saw this movie on the original run.
Yeah.
And then I saw it again at some point, but it's been well over like 15 years at least.
I've owned the movie and I've seen it multitude of times. I just didn't
click.
Like, yeah, it didn't click that, oh, hey, they're both in Scream. Like, I knew she was in the movie.
Yeah.
Obviously. Because I used to watch Party of Five. So I knew who she was, but I didn't know who Skeet Ulrich was. And he looks so different than he does in the other movie. I just never put two and two together.
I never got around to watching Party of Five. Like, I may have seen episodes here and there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know the storyline, but either A, it conflicted with something else, or B, I just never got around to it. Yeah. It's always one of those shows I wanted to watch, but, you know, like everything else, I just never found the time.
Yeah, I used to really like it. Her little sister is Lacey Chabert. It on the show.
I just remember the dude was like in Lost.
Yes.
I loved his haircut. Like he looked
Matthew Fox.
I loved how they cut off his hair and it's like clean cut. Loved it.
So hot.
And I love hair.
Yeah.
But I love that look.
I
also loved, what was it, Prison Break? I also loved his hair all cut off.
I was so sad when Wentworth Miller, when it came out that he was gay. And I was like, no. Not that I was going to get with him.
Let him be. Let him be. I
don't mind that he's gay.
I loved him also in the Mariah Carey video. Yeah. He looked good there too.
You know, I should have put two and two together then. He loves himself some Mariah.
Mariah.
So, anywho, Chris goes on a date with Sarah. And then the next day he's told everybody that they slept together, even though they didn't.
Just because she wouldn't go back to his place and give it up.
Yeah. What a dick.
And what he said is that she was not a good lay.
Yeah. They said that she was terrible. And I was like, you could have just said we slept together. You didn't have to.
Yeah. And so then my thing is I would have accused him out loud and be like, how dare you tell people we slept together? You know, I wouldn't sleep with you, and like make him like feel bad. But she actually tries to have a conversation with him. So then he turns it around and be like, please stop begging me to go out with you.
Yeah. So gross.
That's why you have to come out strong.
And Breckenmeyer, I love him, but he's such a cocky ass in this movie. He does a really good job. He
played his part well.
He did. He was like, he can't talk to you right now. Like trying to be the bodyguard. Annoying. Let's see here. So they put a spell on Chris. So he falls in love with Sarah.
Yep.
And it works too well.
Yeah.
It works so well that he ends up raping her later, or tries to rape her later. And it's just like, dude, like, okay, I understand that you're in love with her. If you're in love with her, you should like love her.
Which is interesting because I thought about that scene in part 2 where they're watching like a sex ed film where they're like, yes means yes means yes.
Yes.
And then the dude's like, oh, yes. But it reminded me of that. I was like, oh.
Exactly. So she goes and she runs and tells her friends, even though they were not friends at the time.
Yeah.
As teens do.
Yeah. And so then Nancy decides she's going to avenge thee.
So I actually had a point I wrote down about Nancy. She may be a bitch.
Yeah.
She may be crazy, but she will protect any woman who's getting touched by a man. And I respect that.
Yeah.
As she should. It doesn't matter if she hates the girl or anything like that. She's going to protect when someone's being touched. Well, at that
point, they had a tiff, not a falling out, you know? So they were still friends. They just, you know, were like mad at each other for a minute. So she's like, oh, hell no, he's going to pay for this. Oh, coming back to Nancy, you know, they each kind of made their own little wish.
Yes.
Rochelle, there was this girl who was picking on her.
Christine
And
Taylor.
so then they ripped out a piece of her hair. And then they were like, okay, if she confronts you again, then something bad's going to happen to her. And sure enough, Marsha's hair starts falling out.
Yeah.
And what is it? With Nev, she suffered some burns, which I wish we would have known the backstory on.
I wish they would. I was like, they never tell us.
Yeah.
And so that sucks.
You know, I had a feeling, like in my head, I was like, maybe grandma knew that she was a witch and tried to burn her at the stake.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's like my like headcanon. But anyway, so then of course she heals her back. And then with Nancy, you know, she's, as she defines herself, white trailer trash.
Yeah.
And so she kind of, when there's a confrontation between her mom and her stepdad, I guess, she kind of wishes he would die, and he had a heart attack. And it turns out he had a life insurance policy for $175,000. So they're moving on up.
Yeah. So even in 1996 in LA, that's not a lot of money. And they like bought like a
I feel like they would have bought the condo.
Yeah, it was like a condo in a high rise that has like a
beautiful view. Like they had a corner unit because her bedroom was a corner room.
And her mom bought a jukebox
that only played one artist.
Yeah. So, okay. So we see her mom. She's in this outfit, right? All I could think is Regina's mom.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, it's Regina's mom.
And then I thought of Kris Jenner playing Regina's mom in the Ariana Grande video too.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing so great, sweetie, or whatever her quote is.
Like, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I never had thought that before.
Yo.
And it was like a full pink outfit too.
Yeah, she tries to come and hang out with the girls. She just shuts the door in her face.
It's so great. I was like, wow. But you know, $175,000. Yeah, it is a lot of money, but it's not life-changing when you were that poor.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to blow through that really quickly because she already had a new car or
She
her
got a
first
Mustang.
car. Yeah. They have the new townhome or whatever, and they had a jukebox, and I was like, they're going to run out of this money.
Yeah. I've looked into condos, and a crappy 1-bedroom right now is going for like $110,000.
And we're in Texas. They're in California.
She was in a high rise.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That, like, it looked like on the strip, so it was going to be a lot of money.
Yeah. Like, I want to say back then, if they bought it straight out, maybe 300,000.
Yeah.
You know, and that was back then.
Yeah.
So
it'd be like $2 million now.
Oh.
So they play light as a feather, stiff as a board.
I have done that before.
I have too. It was unsuccessful.
We were successful, but first of all, we played this game before the craft came out. I was a kid. So I remember my godmother had the freaking coolest house. She had like a 2-bedroom downstairs, you know, whole house. And then upstairs, there were stairs that went upstairs. And then upstairs, it had its own like apartment upstairs with outside stairs. So you could like come and go if you wanted to rent it out. Well, the son was upstairs. And I remember one time, you know, all the parents get together and all the kids go and play. So we were playing upstairs in his room. All of the kids, I'll never forget. And we decided to play that game.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, obviously you can get the little kids. There was like 20 of us. If you got 20 of us with 2 fingers lifting a kid up, you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did. I remember we turned off all of the lights. We had like 2 candles going, and it was like so much fun. I remember we would also like turn off the lights and play like hide and seek up there. His closet was weird. It was like part of the attic, so it like sloped down. It had like a little door, and it was like scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, when you think about it, it's kind of dumb. I don't even like, you know, when you look back at stuff, the apartment unit probably wasn't even that big, but as a kid, it felt huge.
It's like my uncle's shower or my grandpa's shower that I was like, this is huge. And then I was like, oh, this is like a normal shower.
Yeah. And if you think about it, it's a normal room with like a bed, a TV, a dresser. He had a kitchen, but there was no appliances in there, obviously, because he was like, I don't know, maybe 13 to 16 at the time, you know? Yeah. So why would the parents give him his own refrigerator and stove?
Dude, that would be awesome.
I know. I remember like when we were little, like he would always kick us out of his room. Like he was the oldest, so obviously he got the upstairs room. But like his room was the coolest because we could play house in his room. He would always kick us out. Like we didn't have a stove or anything, but we would pretend we did. Like we had the gap for the stove.
Yeah. Like when I was a kid, or when we lived in Nebraska, we would have slumber parties and stuff. And of course we would watch The Craft because who doesn't? And we had a little refrigerator that was always filled with sodas for when we had parties. So we go get Shasta, and we always had lots of Shastas. But yeah, no, we were always unsuccessful with doing light as a feather. We would do the thing where you put like a rocking chair in the bathtub and you would say something into the mirror. I can't.
Bloody Mary?
Yeah. We would play that. We do all sorts of different
He had
stuff.
a restroom up there too. We did play that too. Yeah. Like we would either play house upstairs or we would do scary shit like that until he would throw us out. And he would lock us out and we would be banging on the door. Yeah. And then he would go down the outside and come and like complain to our parents. And then our parents would come and like drag us back down.
Of course.
No fun.
No fun.
Like you have the best room. Why we can't play in your room?
Right?
Go play in the girls' room. Let us play upstairs.
So we have, let's see here. Okay, so they go to the beach and they bring their pets.
I think it was sacrifices. Yeah. Definitely.
So Bonnie had a butterfly. Rochelle had a fish. Yeah. It looked like Nemo. Sarah had a bird and Nancy had a snake. I don't know why, but for some reason I thought she had a spider. I should have known better than that, but I thought spider. And so they go down to the beach and they do their little
seance. No, not seance. Well,
it's kind of.
I commend thee.
Yeah. And she gets struck by lightning.
Well, because she wanted to have the powers of Menon? Menon?
Something like that.
Like metamorphosis, like Menon from Egypt.
I don't remember.
I thought that's who that was.
I don't know.
You know that ruined in Egypt that would speak to you, but really they just found out it was like a gas deposit that was coming out of the rocks that would get you high.
You keep asking me, and I'm still going to tell you I don't know.
Anyways, that's what they say the Delhi oracles were. That they were just getting high on fumes, and that's why they were talking crazy.
Could be.
And that's what people think. But anyways, there was an earthquake, and then like I guess it closed the gap, and then the rocks were no longer speaking to you.
Huh.
Yeah. If I go to Egypt, I would like to find that ruin and see it. See if I can sniff the gas.
There you go. So when they wake up, Nancy is walking on water. As one does. And they brought up all these sharks to the land.
They're my offerings. Yeah. They're my gifts.
She went cuckoo bananas.
Yep.
For sure. And then they let her drive. I was like,
well, it's her car.
Yeah, but she's talking crazy talk. She walked on water.
Okay, first of all,
I don't let her
Is she
drive.
Really crazy? I literally just saw her walking on water.
Yeah, and then
I saw her get hit.
Offerings.
I saw her get hit by lightning, and she's still alive. Who's the crazy one? Sarah.
Still Nancy.
I mean, it just went to her head. It's just a little power, okay? She's still good. She's still good.
And also, I want it to be noted that we were, halfway through the movie, 30 minutes in, and you had not picked a character yet?
Well, I didn't know who I did not want to be Nancy, okay? Because I'm not into the occult. I'm just not, okay?
But
I do have an obsessive compulsive order.
Yes.
Like when I get into shit. Like it becomes my entire being.
Yeah.
So if I got into like witchcraft, which may happen with this Harry Potter face.
Oh Lord. Definitely a Nancy.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that happening. And I don't want to say I would get drunk with power, but there have been times when I've had power and like, I may have abused it. Like when I was the commissioner for our fantasy league and I would not approve trades so that they would benefit me. But like that only happened a few times until I wasn't allowed to be in their league anymore. But whatever, it happens.
I chose Sarah.
Because of their name.
Well, it was that. And also, I just feel I'm more of a Sarah than the other two.
Yeah, I wasn't like, I'm definitely not a Nev or what was it, a Bonnie. Yeah. And what was it? Rochelle. Her personality wasn't so strong.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to bring this up, but since you brought it up, I thought I would just talk about it. So I looked at IMDb. I was looking through the page, and apparently, they were not too keen on having her in the movie.
Why?
Like she wasn't invited to the press junkets.
What?
Like they, the other girls had to get together and be like, "Hey, why isn't she here for the press?" Like there was a lot of times that they kind of excluded her, not the girls, but the movie project people themselves.
Yeah.
And they didn't put a lot of time and effort into her character. She was kind of on the back burner. I don't know if it's because that was just the character itself or because of her race, but it seemed very race related.
Yeah, like I feel like her character needed more.
Yeah.
And they didn't give it to her.
Though I will say they didn't really give us anything more extra about Bonnie either. It was more about Sarah and Nancy.
That's true.
You know, but still.
I could tell immediately that I did not have the Bonnie character.
Yeah.
You know, I could be like, I'm not really her. But with Rochelle, I had to wait. I was like, I don't know much about her character yet.
Yeah.
To really see who I would be. Like, obviously, I knew you were going to go with Sarah because of the name. And I really did not want to be Nancy. I didn't want to be her. So I kept waiting for Rochelle's personality to like really show to be like, okay, I'll be Rochelle. But they never really took her character anywhere that I could identify with. Yeah, no. So
they didn't.
I definitely couldn't swim. No. So I couldn't that's really her only, and she gets picked on. Yeah. I never really got picked on, but I don't feel her character had any defining moments.
So I guess you could have been more like a Bonnie wearing black clothes and stuff, but they all kind of wore black clothes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were more of a Nancy.
Yeah, I guess in the end I would have been a Nancy.
Yeah. I picked Sarah not because of the name, but because she's more the Girl Scout of the group.
That's true.
And I'm definitely more of the Girl Scout.
I mean, when I lead, I will lead my troops into come on. Look at my crew. Look what I've made them do.
Yeah.
Eat flowers, eat a spicy chip. Yeah. And they're all down for it. You know? We're like, fuck yeah, let's do this shit.
Just like Bonnie and Rochelle. They'll just
go with it. I'm a very good seller. I will sell you on this. I'm like, dude, let's do this.
But you know who you don't sell it to?
Who?
Sarah.
I also don't sell it to Sandra.
Yeah.
Ira is a 50-50 chance. Yeah. You know, that's why I have to get this next generation. They go with it.
Yeah.
The kids, they love The Purge. I feel very good about that.
Yeah. Like Sarah doesn't go along with most of what the other three girls.
Party pooper.
Yeah. Well, hey, she's the only one that actually has real powers. So it makes sense as to she would want to keep those contained.
I don't know. I think Nancy kept her powers. She was in the crazy house.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I could definitely see a third part.
Yeah.
You know, now that mom and daughter are reunited.
And it feels so good.
Do you want to skip to the end just for a moment?
Why?
I want to discuss why the girls lost their power.
We can talk about that just a moment.
Okay.
So Lauren, that's Christine Taylor, she did talk to Rochelle and said something negative, and her hair started to fall out. That is my worst nightmare. I'm always afraid, if I'm in the shower and too many strands come out, I'm like, no, that would be the worst. I know people are like, oh, that's so superficial. No, I don't have hair. If I was to lose any more hair, that'd be very jarring because I already have very thin hair. And that's the one thing that I would love to have more of is hair.
Same.
Well, you have gorgeous hair. What are you talking about?
I've lost 75% of my hair.
And yet I can't see your scalp.
Like I remember, I have this distinct memory of like putting 2 braids, one on each side, and one braid of my hair right now is not even half of what it was.
Like sometimes people will be like, okay, I'm going to put this little tiny braid here. And then I'm going to like do all my hair some other way. And I'm like, that would be all my hair. Their little braid of their bangs is my whole entire head of hair. And I'm like, I hate you. I hate you.
That's why I think people our age have short hair. Because I feel like with my hair long.
Saw the Aquanet.
No, with my long hair, I feel like it knots up more.
Yeah.
And I lose more of it just untangling it and brushing it through. Yeah. So I feel like maybe that's why people our age have shorter hair.
Could be.
But
short hair don't care.
But, you know, my hair's going well. It may not be that noticeable, but it's going. So I'm going to try to grow it out as long as I can.
I recently cut mine off and
you cut off a lot.
I did. And hardly anybody noticed. They noticed that it was darker, but they didn't notice that I cut it. And I was like, seriously? I cut off quite a bit.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever.
Yeah. For the
it looks healthier.
What was it? When I cut my hair a few weeks ago or a few months ago, maybe at this point, up until that point, I had it up for the longest time. And then when I finally let it down, they're like, oh my God, your hair is so long. And I'm like, yeah, and I just cut it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, so
Slytherin.
So Sarah and Chris go out on a date. And after that date, he tries to rape her. Or he
They didn't even go on a date. They went to like a makeout scene and she's like, I thought we were going to dinner.
And then the tides turn for whatever reason.
Well, she starts running. So he starts chasing.
Yeah.
She falls down and he's on top of her.
Yeah, he was like a damn dog in heat just after her. It was quite crazy. And then so
I do wonder though, if she could have gotten control back. Right. If she just like played along with him and told him like stay, because there was moments where he was like following her commands.
Yeah.
So if maybe she like just stopped, took a moment and just commanded him to stop, he would have stopped.
I think it was, you know, the lady said it had to run its course. So I'm wondering if it was getting too powerful and that's what was happening. I don't know.
He had to act on it. And that's why Nancy was helping him relieve himself.
Yeah. And so Sarah had shown them this like mirror trick where you could like change the color of her eyes or change the color of her hair.
A glamour.
And so Nancy does that. She pretends to be Sarah. And so he's going for it. And
then the real Sarah shows up.
Yeah, really creeps him out. And he backs up and falls out the window and dies.
Or was he pushed?
Yeah, he could have been pushed.
I mean, it was like Nancy kind of went psycho on him and she could have used her invisibility spells to just kind of like push him out with the gust of like wind.
Yeah, because wind is her power, right?
Yeah.
Or is it water?
I don't remember what's what. But she could have been wind.
Yeah, I think she is wind, which is crazy. Yeah, because she's wind, Bonnie's fire, obviously. Rochelle is water, and Sarah is earth.
Oh, so then I am Rochelle.
Or maybe Nancy is earth, and Sarah's wind.
Either ways,
it doesn't matter.
She still taps into that power regardless. Yeah. Or did she?
So they help her out. And then all of a sudden they're in a fight again.
Yeah.
And Sarah is by herself.
Well, because Sarah accuses them of like using their power for evil, basically.
Which they were.
Yeah. You know, she's like, Bonnie, you're so self-centered. And she's like, well, excuse me for being self-conscious my entire life. Now that I look badass. I want to be the bad bitch that I've always felt I was.
Yeah.
You know?
But you can be that way and still be who you were, you know?
And Rochelle, I don't really felt she changed, but she kind of stuck with her two lifelong friends, you know?
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. Again, like her character, like, you know, she stuck with her friends.
Yeah.
So.
And then obviously Nancy was a psychopath.
Yeah. Well, basically, Sarah didn't want to be a part of that anymore. And it's like, well, you know what? You can't really leave the gang once you're in the gang. So you're going to have to
blood
die.
in, blood out, bitch.
Exactly.
Snitches get stitches.
Exactly.
And so they start doing stuff to her and she starts seeing bugs and snakes all over. They make it look like her parents have died in a crash.
Airplane crash.
Yeah. And so
they basically make it look like they're trying to set it up so that she committed suicide.
Right.
But before that point, she had gone to her local bookstore, where they would originally steal books and stuff. But, you know,
except for Sarah.
Yeah. She built a rapport with the witch, and the witch is like, okay, you have to take back control and give yourself to Mammon or whatever his name is. We don't know. Yeah. But, you know, the other three show up, and that's when she takes off. And so now they've cut her wrists and they've written her suicide note, and she runs upstairs. And so she starts to commend herself to Mammon or whatever his name is. I don't know. But, and then she gets
all the powers.
Yeah. So Bonnie and Rochelle are going upstairs to look for her when they look at themselves in the mirror and their worst nightmares come true. Rochelle sees herself losing her hair and Bonnie sees more scarring, but on her face now where she can't hide it.
Yeah. Because, the bookstore witch told them that you get ×3
what you put out into the world.
And so now they're seeing themselves reflected as what they've done to others.
Yeah. So they take off running.
Right.
And somehow Sarah walks into a mirror and hides so that when Nancy comes upstairs looking for her, she's like, boo, and pops out of a mirror. And then they get into a pretty epic scuffle. Nancy can't stab for shit.
No, she can't. I think she's just psycho. I think she's just having like a break.
Yeah. She's over here just stabbing madly and completely missing Nancy.
Yeah. And then she tries to like crush her. Yeah, crush her, but she didn't. And she does like this, like, I don't know, invisible spell.
Yeah.
And she goes to stab her, and then Sarah pushes her with her feet, and she goes flying, and then she binds her.
Yeah.
Once and for all. And she gets taken away.
Yep.
To the crazy house. And then we get Bonnie and Rochelle coming and asking, like, hey, did you lose your powers? Because we lost ours. So do you think they're just bound and that's why they don't have powers? Or do you think they got stripped?
So for Sarah, she always had a natural ability that she could tap into.
Yeah.
With Nancy, she was bound, but again, who knows how long this binding would last, you know? Because she already tried to bind her once.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously with the other two, they probably unbound her. I feel the other two may have been the weakest links. And when their covenant crumbled, their powers did too. Because remember, you needed all four of them to tap in.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't make sense in the second movie that Nancy is her mom. Because she wasn't a real witch. She wasn't a born witch. Unlike Sarah's mom was a witch. So Sarah's a witch. So it would have made sense if Sarah was the mom, but she's not the mom. Nancy's the mom. And I don't think you could just hand over powers that you didn't have to the next person.
Well, remember when he was talking to Mulder, you can give your powers.
True, but she didn't have powers to give.
So, here is my theory. Obviously, there's different levels of witchedom.
Because she's kind of like Hermione. Hermione doesn't really have powers. She's learned how to do the craft.
But she was born with it.
No.
Yeah, she was.
No, she's a muggle. Both of her parents are muggles.
Exactly, but it manifested in her like it skips generations.
No, she's a muggle.
She's muggle born.
Yeah, so she doesn't have, she doesn't really have powers. She's able to do the spells, but she doesn't have powers.
She does.
I'm pretty sure she doesn't.
Yeah, she does.
Because she's muggle. Muggle are not powerful.
How do I explain this?
Like, she's just good at spells.
No. So there are wizard people,
Yeah.
and then there are regular human people.
Yeah, and she's a regular human person.
But there are magical people that can be born without magic. Okay? Just like regular people can be born with magic. So in the wizard world, there are, what are they called? Something with an S. Squibs or squibs. Yeah, squibs. There are people born to magical families that have no power at all. So they are then either A, stay in the wizard world. That was the janitor. He had no magical powers, but he stayed in the wizarding world. Or you can go live in the muggle world. Hermione most likely had heritage that was magic, which means she had blood that was magical and it finally manifested in her. You know how you could skip generations?
No, I understand how genetics and stuff work.
Yes.
But I watched the same movies as you did, and I'm pretty sure they said that she was a muggle.
She is a muggle. She's muggle born. The difference is she had magic manifested in her even though her heritage is muggle.
I just thought she was really smart and was able to do the...
No, she probably exhibited magical...
We'll have to ask Susan after.
Don't you believe me? No. Don't you think I'm enough into the lore?
You've watched the movies. You haven't read the books.
Okay, but I'm telling you right now, okay?
I could be wrong. I'm just saying... But anyways,
that's where you get half-bloods from. Half-bloods.
Okay, but in this movie, Nancy was not an actual witch. She learned the craft. It's called the craft because she learned it. Sarah was actually a witch. She came from down a bubble, Doug. No.
Okay, listen. Sarah's mother was a known witch. Okay, so she has witch like heritage in her life. She can back up if she actually knew about it. Yeah. The other three should have
just practiced the craft.
There has to be some magic for you to tap into.
No.
Okay.
No, that's why they needed Sarah.
No, they just needed a fourth that happened to have a magical intuition. Yeah. Okay, listen. I can go buy these little witchcraft books, okay? And I can practice all the magic I want, but I'm not going to make shit happen because I don't have magic in my heritage or blood.
Tell that to all the girls that I went to high school with that started to become witches because of this movie. So in the second movie,
yes,
one thing I have to say is Lily has a cute little short haircut.
Yes, and when she gets dolled up, she looks so cute.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I wish I could look cute with the short little haircut.
So
like
I definitely have a feeling they didn't address this in the film, but obviously she was the water sign because she was the one that was missing. And I'm like, oh, I'm a water sign, but that's not the character I ended up being. And then later she's wearing pearls and I'm like, oh my God, she's a Cancer and she's born in June because that's our birthstone is pearls.
And I want people to know that I also was not Lily in this movie. I'm not like, oh, I have to be the main character. No, I was a sidekick.
You were the short one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is weird. That's not my brand, but that's who I was. She was the comedian of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of, so David Duchovny is in this movie.
Yes, he was. And I loved him in this film.
So spoiler alert, he's the bad guy.
No. Yes. Oh, Frankie, you're Frankie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember them saying the word
I'm
Frankie.
Tabby and Zoe must be the tall one. Oh, okay. Lourdes is the tall one.
Okay.
Because she's a Hispanic chick, so she can't be Tabby.
Yeah. So I was Frankie. So David Duchovny's in this movie. Mm-hmm. He's the bad guy.
Adam.
And from the moment we saw him, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I got a bad feeling about him.
Yeah. So apparently, I guess he's a warlock.
Yeah. That's what an evil wizard is.
Yeah, he's a warlock. He was trying to steal their powers.
Yeah.
And so he has 3 sons. Mm-hmm. And I guess he's like some man, like power.
Yeah. Like
talker. I don't
like he really showed his true colors at the end. It's like, you should worship us.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. And so at one point, on her first day of school, poor Lily, all of a sudden something was like, all these people were acting crazy in the class.
Snickering.
And we're like, what is happening? Uh-huh. And she bled and she bled. And she bled and it was like dripping everywhere and it was all over her pants. And so the next day at school, what the guy, Tim, he's a dick. He comes up and says like, you know what helps with cramps? Sex. And he like says that to her ear and she like brushes him back. But all the girls did the same thing at the same time. They all
thought the same thought.
Yeah. Pushed him away. And so the both of them get in trouble and have to go to detention for him being an asshole and trying to touch her.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't really touching her. He was teasing her, but
he said something to her that was inappropriate. And so they both had to go. And They do a spell on him. And they have to find something that like represents him.
Yeah, like an article, like a piece of hair or something. When they find a used condom. Something. I mean, it could have been a sock.
No. They said it was a condom.
Oh, okay.
Well, they said it without saying it.
Yeah. Well, it could have been a sock.
Yeah, but I heard her say condom.
Oh, okay.
Later on.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was a condom and they put it in a bong.
Well, I love how they're like, we need a cauldron. And then she picked up the bong. And I was just like, oh my God, what kind of fucked up spell are they going to throw to, like, they're going to fuck this up, you know?
So we were trying to think like what they were going to do. We're like, maybe they're going to make him like guys, or they're going to make him do this, do that.
And he was very innocent.
Yeah. They literally made him like,
be his true self.
A nicer person.
Well, not intentionally.
Yeah. He was like woke and he no longer was misogynistic.
I have to say that he became so much more attractive.
So much more attractive.
Like he was nice. He was like, I loved him.
He became my favorite character.
Yes, I loved him.
And I gotta say, before we even knew what happened, I nailed it. So turns out Tim and one of her
middle brothers, the middle brother, are best friends.
Yes. But we find out that he slept with the older brother.
No, I think he went down on him.
No, he said they hooked
He
up.
said they were virgin. He was a virgin.
Yeah, they were also playing Two Truths and a Lie.
You can still be a virgin and go down on somebody.
He
didn't pop his cherry.
He had a condom. A used condom. And they all said he wasn't a virgin.
Oh, okay.
During that game. So they knew he wasn't. But he said he hooked up with his friend, and which is her stepbrother. And since then, he won't even talk to him.
Look at him.
Look at him. And
then he feels bad because it's his best friend.
Yeah.
You know, he slept with the brother.
Yeah.
And he likes both men and women.
Yes. So then he kisses Lily.
Yeah, but it was let's just go back when he like bears his soul.
Yes.
Like before this, like the girls are just like best friends with him. Like they listen to all of his stories. They're like, wow, you're like I love Tim.
Yeah, he becomes a squad member.
Yes, they're like dancing and having fun. And then they're all in Lily's room and he shares his truth and he starts like getting emotional and crying and everybody's like,
oh my God.
They're there. We're with you. It's okay. This is a safe place. And he just,
I honestly didn't think that he was going to be gay. And I was just like, nailed it.
I know. I did like when he was becoming super friendly, like when he was part of the girl squad, when they did, you know, their power walk into the cafeteria, I was like, yeah, he's probably gay, you know, but
then he likes girls too. So he kissed Lily. But what I really liked is that he kisses her, walks away and then comes back for seconds. And I was just like, oh, that was really cute.
And then he texts her like to be continued.
And then he died the next day.
Supposedly he committed suicide.
But before that happened.
Oh no.
We have to talk about it.
No. This poor boy left his sweater in her room.
It's so shitty.
And I already knew as soon as she picked it up and started smelling on it, she was going to be fucking creepy. But I was not expecting it to be that creepy.
She might just like put it on and sleep with it or snuggle with it or put it on her pillow. No. She brought it downtown.
First of all, she made it. This is what I did not agree with. Okay. Yeah. When she's like, she makes her little spell for him to like her or love her or something. And I was like, I am very much for Jeannie's 3 rules. You can't make anyone fall in love with you. You can't wish anybody death. Yeah. And you can't, what was the third one? Well, wish for more wishes, you know? And I was like,
to be fair, I will play devil's advocate just for a second.
Okay.
Every spell they've made together.
Yeah.
She didn't even know that she had powers or anything. So I think when she was doing it.
at this point, she had powers.
Yeah, but she's only done it with them.
She knew what she was doing. She lit a candle.
I think she was just setting the mood for herself.
Oh my God.
So I truly believe that she was just kind of like wishing like little girls do. Like they're like, I just wish this boy would really like me. I don't think she thought that would actually happen.
No, I knew she knew. See, that is why I thought she took the sweater down and started rubbing on herself so that she can put her essence on his essence for the spell.
I think she was just being creepy with his jacket.
No, that's right. That's what I thought was happening. It was like she was rubbing her love essence on his essence. Yeah. And then literally like a minute later, he storms into her room and we're like, oh shit. And he's like, hey, because he's over there for the evening because he has a project with the brother for school. He's like, hey, did I leave my sweater in here? And she's like, no, I haven't seen it. And then the whole little makeout scene happens between them.
And I forgot to mention. So I did bring up why they were in a fight, but I forgot to talk about the dad. So the stepdad, who's not even married to her mom yet. He comes home from a trip and finds out what happened with Tim and that they got in a fight and she pushed him. And he like starts yelling at her and berating her and is like, we don't believe in violence in this house. And, you know, all this stuff. And the mom just stood there and didn't say it.
I think she was in shock because obviously they fought afterwards.
Like, I feel like she should have been like, hold on.
This is my kid. I will discipline her.
Yeah. Or
if
like,
it's necessary.
Hey, how about we, leave this for another day, or let me talk to her, whatever. I just felt like the mom really needed to step up a little bit.
I feel she was in shock because I was in shock. I was like, what, who the fuck are you to talk to my kid like that?
And I would have said, well, what did he say? Like, that should have been his question. Well, what did he say that made you push him like that? And it wasn't like a little push. It was like a full throttle.
Shove. Yeah.
Like into the lockers and collapsed on the floor push. Like, I would have had questions. Well, what was so bad that he said to you? Then that might have changed the subject a little, or changed there's the results.
Yeah.
But basically, I guess she got grounded because she wasn't allowed to go out. Her mom had to cover for her. She wasn't allowed to have the friends over.
Yeah.
So when Tim came to her room, it was a big thing. And then the dad caught them, didn't catch them kissing, but caught him coming out of her room.
Yeah.
And the next day he was dead. And I was like, oh, the dad did it 100%.
Exactly. Like, he was already, like, she was looking at his books about like masculinity and all this and that. Yeah. And then the book flew out of her hand.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah. And then she kept having these like dreams and kept seeing this symbol. And then she finds that symbol of a pagan
snake,
something on the wall.
Yeah.
And he
the
like
family
talks to
crest.
her about, the family crest.
After he commits his suicide, she's kind of like roaming the house at night and he like surprises her.
So do we think that he stalked her mom to get to the daughter?
100%.
Yeah.
Yup.
That's gross.
Yep.
And so then her friends find out that she did a love spell on top of the spell that they already had on him. And they're like, well, it's obviously your fault. Like, we weren't supposed to do that. You broke our trust. And they split up for a bit.
Yeah.
And then she tries to go and talk to them when she tells her mom.
About the funeral.
Yeah. She tells her mom, like, there's something wrong with him. We need to get away from Adam.
Yeah.
And her mom's like, no, like, okay, we'll go on a trip, but after the funeral. Well, then that didn't happen. And she gets taken because
he glamours himself to look like the mom.
And he says something and she's like, my mom would never say that.
Yep.
And then she punches him and he becomes Adam.
Yep.
And
then she wakes up in the forest in a clearing by herself. And then Tim, who is dead, whose mother died when he was young, he has a Ouija board.
Yeah.
And he is under the belief that his mother was communicating with him through the Ouija board. And so then I guess the girls are all hanging out. And one of them notices that the Ouija board is moving. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, it's Tim. And he's sending a message like, hey, you need to go save Lily.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Lily's like, if you want to take my power, it's going to be over my dead body. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
And he lifts her up and is about to punch her when like the world freezes.
Yes.
And the girls show up and they all get together. They're going to defeat the evil warlock. And they all, I guess, get shot down.
Yeah.
Where it's now Lily and he's walking towards her and she's kind of crawling away. And he's like, where are you going? And then she's like, east. And then he realizes he's in the middle of like their little circled square. And they're all saying north, south, west, east. And they do their little chant and they burn him.
Yes, they did.
They burned him at the stake.
Now, my question is, what happens to the sons? They don't have a mom now. They don't have a dad. So it's like, where are they going to go?
Now, what I want to know is how much do they know about witchcraft? Yeah. Especially the older one.
And who washed her jeans?
I don't know.
They never brought that up.
No. No, I have no idea. But I'm more concerned, at the very least, with the eldest son.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, the eldest son, he is at the point where he should know more about his heritage and this witchcraft shit.
Yeah,
you know?
It's very crazy.
So maybe the third movie, the sons try to avenge them or something.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because, I mean, who's to say that the dad didn't spin it as like your new stepsister, she's an evil witch and she killed your best friend? Mm-hmm. You know? Like because they did put a spell on him, 2 spells.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, look at how he changed, completely changed. Like
for the better.
Well, who's to say they didn't change him in their image? Remember how he kept saying that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can, like, looking at it from the other perspective, Tim did change drastically from the person you've known your entire life. And then all of a sudden he's found dead, you know, and they are witches. So, I mean, and they killed your father.
Yeah.
You know, after your dad took you and your mother in and was trying, because, you know, even the youngest brother is like, I know he talks weird and is all macho, but he says it from love. He just wants you to be strong.
Yeah, it's like, how are they going to explain that to the cops?
I mean, I doubt they found the body. There's no body. He just disappeared.
Disappeared.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like the eldest son would know at least more.
Yeah.
You know? The second one, I feel the second one is old enough to know at least something. The youngest one,
we barely got to know.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of still innocent.
Yeah.
You know? But for sure the older one knows something.
Yeah, I had to look up their profiles, and that's when I found out what the youngest son's name is. It's Abe. I was like, I don't remember. Like, they said it very quickly at the beginning, but I only remembered Jacob and Isaiah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Abe, that's his name. Mm-hmm. But anywho, all right. So what did you like? Which movie did you prefer?
Ooh, see, that's the thing. For me, I feel like they were 2 halves of a circle. Like it was a complete story for both of them. Mm-hmm. You know, like you have the first movie where a group of girls in the end break apart.
Yeah.
And in the second movie, you have a group of girls that come together in the end.
Yeah.
So, I really honestly feel there were 2 completely different tales.
Yeah.
Of the same universe, I guess you could say.
I will say that I definitely liked the group in the second movie better than the group in the first.
I think because of just how it ended.
Yeah. And also just they had more girl power and they were nicer and they weren't using their witchcraft for personal gain.
They weren't mean-spirited or anything.
Like they were going around helping the bullied and helping things like that. They were having fun with it.
Yeah.
But in like a safe, normal way versus all the other stuff the other girls did.
I like how the evil person wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
You know, it was, Adam, David Duchovny.
Yeah.
So I feel very nostalgic for the first one. Mm-hmm. And number 1 has so much more iconic moments for me. But story-wise, I prefer the second story better.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't really care about many of the characters in the first one. But I really liked Tim.
Oh, he stole the show.
Yeah. And Frankie. I really liked her too.
I loved her in her cheetah print.
Yeah.
She reminded me of a cheetah girl. Could she have been a cheetah girl?
No, I don't think so. She kind of looks like the girl who was a cheetah girl, but she's not a cheetah girl. I do kind of wish we got to know the other 3 girls a little bit more. But I feel like it was still a good movie.
Yeah. I feel this film was so much more Lily centered.
Yeah.
And the other three were sidekicks.
Just so people know, we had a very hard time watching this movie, like getting the movie to watch. I don't know if it's because it's a witch movie. The powers that be were like, no. I could only find this movie on Amazon to purchase. I purchased it, tried to play it, and it only played the trailer. Then it wouldn't do anything. And then we tried something else, and then it like froze and it didn't do it. And then I like would go in and it wouldn't show it. And then it did show it, and then it wouldn't play it. And then finally had to like just cancel my order, go in and buy it again. And then it finally worked. But it was quite the hassle. And I was afraid that I was not going to like the movie. I was like, this is going to be crap. Not going to like it. It's going to be a waste of like $12.99. But it really wasn't. I really did enjoy the movie. I don't know if I'll watch it again, but I did really enjoy it.
I will say that when I looked it up, this movie cost $18 million, which seems reasonable, but it came out in October of 2020.
Yeah.
And it only brought in $2.3 million, which is very disappointing because in a non-pandemic year, this movie would have made its money back.
I think so.
You know, no matter, regardless of how bad, even if reviews were horrible, it's a scary movie in October. It would have made $18 million back.
Yeah.
And so it's disappointing. I feel like this movie did not have an online release because I remember during the pandemic, any movie that was online release, we would watch. If it was that interesting, like this one would have been something we would have paid for to see.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't an option.
No, it was
I remember, like I got HBO Max specifically for Godzilla, for Mortal Kombat. So I would have definitely have paid to have seen this if I had the option, but we didn't get a chance to go to the movies back then.
No, we did not.
I remember we did not break until Spider-Man came out.
Yeah.
And we did not watch it opening weekend.
Nope.
We waited like a week and a half. We went during the week on
Something
top of
like that.
that. During the day we took off. Well, you guys took off.
Yeah.
Just so that there would be less people.
We're doing what we can. Okay, April.
Yes.
So the time has come.
Okay.
Let's start with the first one.
Okay.
What would you rate it?
I would rate number 1 an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Out of 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 red lipstick.
All right. And
It was very memorable look on her.
yes, it is. I would say it's a 7 out of 10. You can sit downs. What would you say about the second movie?
Definitely a 9 out of 10. Fox Mulder, FBI. I love him.
I would say
He's still looking good.
he really is. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 Tims.
Oh, Tim, I love you. I love you so much, Tim.
So much. Which is funny.
Because he can talk through a Ouija board so we can have him be our little like poltergeist. If they make a part 3, he could be our personal poltergeist.
When we saw the Cinderella movie, he was the prince, and we were just like, ugh.
No, I liked him.
We're just like, But it's the same dude, and I was like, oh my God, it's the same guy.
What's so interesting is when he was being a dick, we like hated him.
Hated him so
and then he
much.
turned sensitive and was talking about like people's rights and sensitivity. And I felt like I was the girls, like when they were at the party and he's standing there talking and they're just looking at him in awe. I felt like that too. I was like, Wow, he's such a good speaker.
Yeah. I think it's because his eyes lit up and he looked happy.
So impassionated by what he was saying.
Oh, it was so good.
Like really, you know what? Like your personality can really change how people perceive you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. April, where can they find us?
Two Chicks Talking Flicks over on Instagram.
You can find us at Two Chicks Talkin Flicks at Gmail.
We have a Facebook, Two Chicks Talking Flicks.
And on TikTok, Two Chicks Talkin Flicks.
Woohoo!
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time.
Toodles.
Bye. This episode was produced by Two Chicks Talkin Flicks. Music was produced by Michael Girvani. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to be a part of the show, have a movie suggestion, or just want to give us some love, you can email us at twochickstalkinflicks@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Toodles.